it's amazing to see what chaos does to this business. If you think about the theme of the show, it's incredibly apropos based on what's going on in the world as we see it. I mean, 5 years ago, at this show, I think Yen Lee and Steve Hafner and Michelle Peluso were fighting about the viability of metasearch and kayaks on the eve of trying to go public. Little Priceline was, I don't know, maybe $1 billion company. They're now a $20 billion company. Pretty amazing what can happen in a very short amount of time. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Groupon, and it's kind of strange to be here. It's great to be back at a travel show, but Groupon isn't a travel company, so we're going to try and redefine what travel is. So traditionally, you guys think of travel, and the consumer thinks of travel as air, car, hotel, packages, cruises. What can I do to get away from it all? How can I, book a flight, book a hotel room? So with Groupon, we like to think of travel as any time you leave your front door. And it's a pretty gigantic category when you think of it from that perspective. So I'll talk about Groupon only for a few seconds, and then move into kind of these themes of social, local, mobile, global, real-time, the chaotic things that are driving our business. And when you embrace them properly, they create amazing amounts of hyper-growth and opportunity. And if you don't embrace chaos properly, it creates more chaos. So chaos creates opportunity when you harness it properly. So a few examples of this notion of every time you leave your front door, we're in the travel space. So this is a Groupon that we ran in San Francisco where you could go indoor skydiving. We ran the promotion and sold close to 3,000 units in a single day. And that's the basic gist of Groupon. So Groupon is a model where we feature an amazing and fun thing for people to do in their local area. We're now in about 500 cities around the world. In the last year, we've gone from being in one country to being in 30 countries. We've gone from 1 million subscribers to 30 million subscribers, and we've gone from about 100 employees to 3,000 employees. So if you really want to understand chaos, Groupon's a great case study in this notion of chaos. Onboarding 3,000 people in a 9-month period is the most chaotic thing you can do. But our model is predicated upon local, hyper-local, getting small businesses around the world featured to these 30 million subscribers, and we sell lots and lots and lots of stuff. So this indoor skydiving is one example. Another example, and this is really awesome, in Orlando, swimming with manatees. That's a really great example of leaving your front door, driving a few miles to swim with manatees. And these are typically things that people are doing in their local area. We're not seeing a huge number of our subscribers subscribing to Orlando when they live in New York. These are local people subscribing to a list, doing local things. And when we ran this swim with manatees promotion, we sold nearly 2,000 of these. Another example, this is from Krakow in Poland. It's pretty universal what the middle class likes to do with their free time. They love to go to cupcake bakeries, Pilates studios, souped up go-kart tracks, swimming with manatees, and it's a pretty universal model that we're seeing people getting really excited about exploring and discovering new things to do in their areas. And I lied a little bit. We are kind of in the travel business, but it hasn't been a focus at all. This is a promotion we ran last week for the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco and the Sonoma Mission Inn, a little bit north of San Francisco. And in a one-weekend period, we sold about $500,000 worth of hotel rooms. And if you think about our model, and if you think about some of the issues with the travel industry around perishability, no better way to optimize your inventory if you can get in front of a very engaged audience. And with Groupon, we've been invited to people's inboxes on a daily basis to receive these great local offers. So, travel is one of the best online categories, and what we're doing is we're bridging the gap between the online world and the offline world. It's never been possible for you to really run promotions in the online world and drive a lot of volume into the offline world, and that's what we're doing here. And the one category that's done a great job of bridging online and offline is travel. So the travel industry is way ahead of every other industry out there as it relates to using the internet to sell lots of things in the physical world. We're the fastest growing company ever. So this is a slide that was put together by some folks at Morgan Stanley. And you'll notice, I don't know if you can see the logos, but amazingly iconic internet companies like Google, Yahoo, Netscape, Facebook, Netflix, none of them have grown as quickly as we have. And I think one of the main reasons we've been able to grow so quickly is this notion of chaos. We live in a world of chaos, we embrace chaos, and embracing a few very key things. And there's a lot going on in this world. Everything that you guys are hearing around the social web and the mobile web is probably very overwhelming and very chaotic. I've thrown a bunch of things up here. Location awareness, group buying, social games, apps, flash sales, virtual goods, checking in. But the really big important things that I think everyone in the travel industry should focus on are mobile, social, local, real-time, and global. And I'll go into each of those in a little bit of detail. But when you think of Groupon and what we've been able to do, but not for these 5 things, social, local, global, real-time, and mobile, we wouldn't be where we are. And these, I think, are things that are applicable to every business in the travel industry. So one way to really harness the potential out there and to deal with all this chaos is to harness these platforms that are out there. There's some very big platforms, Facebook, Google, iPod, iPhone, everything that Apple's doing, what Twitter's doing, what Amazon's doing, and I'll gratuitously throw Groupon in there as a platform in that as a supplier of anything in the travel industry, we're a platform that can move a lot of units for just about anyone. And there's other platforms out there, Foursquare and on and on and on. But embracing platforms is a very smart thing for every one of us in the travel industry to do. It's something that we can do ubiquitously. We should all be using every platform out there. And for the most part, these things are free. You know, the numbers are pretty staggering. When you look at Facebook, 620 million users, hundreds of thousands of apps, hundreds of thousands of downloads. Apple, 120 million users on iPhone, iPad, iTouch, and 300,000 apps out there. Google has 900 million users, and the platform approach there is, you know, what can I do to get my content indexed into their natural search engine, and then how can I leverage their amazing advertising platforms on the search side and on the display side. And then Twitter, 120 million real-time users. So these are all platforms that are inviting us to come in and use them at any given time to connect with our consumers and make it easier for our consumers to connect with us. So these platforms that are, you know, causing a lot of the chaos out there are platforms that are at our disposal that should be used anytime you get an opportunity to integrate with them. And they're free. They're mostly free. And you can use Facebook Connect. You can create apps on the iPhone store. And when they're not free, if you optimize them properly, the ROI that you get from them is absolutely insane. One really interesting thing about Groupon is it's the first commerce business that wasn't born within the Google ecosystem. Every single one of you guys, if you've been smart over the last decade, have really grown up around this notion of SEO and SEM, and it's driven your business. We actually started out by optimizing on the Facebook platform, and every bit of our growth in the first year or so of the company came from Facebook. We're now optimizing on the Google, and we're buying a lot of ads on both the search and display side. But this notion of leveraging these platforms to grow your business is something that you should embrace wholeheartedly. And I remember back at Sidestep when we built one of the first apps on the Facebook platform. I worked with Sam Shank, and we came up with this concept of SNO, social network optimization. If that's something that you're not embracing, it's a big mistake. As much as you've embraced SEO and SEM, SNO, social network optimization, should be a big part of all of your strategies on a going forward basis. Social is another big thing. So we're bucketed in this category called social commerce. And we're pretty good at it, but I think we're only at the tip of the iceberg. But what's really unique about what we do is every feature that we run, whether it's snorkeling with manatees or go-kart racing in Krakow or staying in a hotel or going to a Pilates studio or going to a cupcake bakery, these are all very local offerings that are very social. And we're finding that people are tweeting about these offers that we put out there. We're making it easy for them to connect with their friends on Twitter and Facebook and other social applications. This notion of a like button, if you're not fully embracing the like button, if you're not fully embracing Facebook Connect, if you're not setting up young people within your organization who understand the social web to tweet for you on Twitter, you're a huge opportunity and you'll get lost in the chaos. There are people who are really good at this, and there are people who don't do it. And a lot of people are, I think, just checking the box. Yeah, I've got my Facebook fan page, but what's it doing for me? And I think there's a huge opportunity for everyone in the entire travel industry to, you know, dedicate more and more resources to everything social, and make sure you have experts who understand the social web. I'm an old guy now, I'm 44 years old, and I kind of understand what Facebook and Twitter are about, but I have no idea what it really means to engage deeply, like a lot of potential consumers that we're trying to reach are doing. So, it's really important to bring people into the organization who have grown up on these platforms, who really deeply understand this stuff. And we're finding that in the old days, we would have hired a really brilliant MBA with 10 years of experience who was 35 years old, and we'll bring in a 23-year-old kid who's never worked anywhere, and the productivity is 10x what this brilliant MBA could have done for us based on how to leverage these social applications and the social web. So it's a very important thing. Don't just check the box. Make sure you're living it and breathing it, embracing everything social. This is a list from Twitter of the most popular brands that are being followed, and you'll notice it's kind of mind-boggling to me. There's not a single travel brand on here. So Oprah has 4.5 million subscribers. The NBA, People Magazine, the NFL, Woo, Good Morning America. Not a single travel brand. So I think this is an amazing opportunity. If you look at the Facebook platform, all of the top 20 guys who have been liked more than anyone else. Not a single travel brand in that whole list. So this, I think, is an amazing opportunity to really embrace. How do you leverage Facebook and Twitter to make sure that you're getting all of this free exposure, like People Magazine and Time Magazine and NBA are doing this through just a little bit of effort. Some of them have these amazing brands, and it makes sense that Oprah is probably the #1 most followed person on Twitter. But why isn't Expedia? Why isn't Hilton, Hyatt, Marriott? It makes sense for the travel industry to be on this list, and it's something to really embrace and figure out. So mobile is a very, very important thing. At Groupon, if we were a public company, we'd have to report from a materiality perspective the number of transactions that are occurring for us on mobile devices, which is kind of mind-boggling. There's a very big percentage of our transactions that are happening on these little screens. There will be 500 million little screens out there in 2012. So, if you're not fully embracing the Apple OS, the Android, the Symbian, Nokia, BlackBerry RIM kind of platforms out there, probably a huge mistake, and especially in the travel industry. Kayak, has 4 million downloads supposedly on its iPhone application. They probably got sick of having a lot of their growth come from SEM, and it made a lot of sense for them to build an iPhone app. And every travel application, if you think about it, should be out there in the mobile world. It's a very real-time, dynamic industry where the pricing is always changing. Flights get delayed. If you're not fully embracing mobile, huge opportunity squandered. And I would argue that you make it core. I bet a lot of you, let's see a show of hands of people who have some kind of mobile app. How many have outsourced it though and had somebody else build it? So a lot of people have outsourced it, and a lot of people don't even have them. And if you think about it, there's going to be more people accessing the internet on these little screens than on the big screen that you're optimized for in the coming years. So if you're not on the mobile devices, if you're not fully embracing it and making it core, huge opportunity that will again go squandered. And a lot of the chaos is occurring because we used to build things for the big screen. We now have to build things for the little screen. It's really hard to do that, but it's the kind of investment you have to make. If you don't make it, somebody else will get those transactions, and somebody else will get that engagement on these little screens, and you won't be there when people are on these devices, and they're on these devices all day long, all night long, everywhere they go. Global. This is really interesting. So Groupon, when I arrived 8 months ago, was in 1 country. We're now in 30 countries. That all happened in an 8-month period. Most of the transaction volume that we're seeing from Europe and Brazil and Japan is almost as big as the transaction volume that we're seeing in North America. At some point in 2011, our revenue mix will be about 50-50 North America versus the rest of the world. And that typically takes about a decade. If you think about, or more. I was speaking with Dara last night, and Expedia is doing a great job globally. However, just about a third of the revenue or so is coming outside of North America. The opportunity to create value on a global basis is fantastic. It's never been more interesting. And if you're not going global now, you're missing a big opportunity. The middle class that's out there is going to be probably 1.5 billion people in the next 15 years. It's about 400 million now, growing to 1.5 billion in places like China, Brazil, Russia, all over Europe. So going global is a very important part of this notion of embracing chaos. It's very hard to go global, but again, it's one of those investments worth making. Build, buy, partner, whatever it takes. Go global as quickly as you can. It's probably one of those things that will accelerate your business much more dramatically than any other initiative that you could think of. And then, local makes a lot of sense in the travel space. We're very, very focused on local. That's our business. And there's a lot of platform companies like Yelp and Foursquare and Facebook Places and Google Maps and Gowalla and Groupon, where if you are a hotelier, you should be on every single local site possible. If you have any kind of touch point in your business with local, these are platforms, again, that are free, that if you fully optimize like you used to do in the old days for Google from an SEO perspective, just tons and tons and tons of free volume and free traffic coming your way. So local is a very important part of this whole new web that we're seeing. And then, kind of a flippant slide, but unless you're Priceline, who fully embraced global and became a $20 billion company, unless you're Expedia with this amazing global footprint, or unless you're HomeAway, that has this natural built-in monopolistic marketplace. And again, gratuitous plug for HomeAway, based on the fact that I love the company, I'm on the board. But rethink everything. If you're not the global leader, if you don't have natural network effects or some kind of way to crush the competition, you have to rethink everything you're doing. It's a really great time to think about. If you're not embracing this chaos and creating opportunity out of it, you'll probably get crushed by the competition who will embrace it. So, really good time to rethink everything along that spectrum of social, local, mobile, global, and real time. Thank you.